Hi YouTube! Welcome back to the third episode of the CAT 973K build. So in this episode I was thinking I should walk you through the electronics for this loader. And as you can see, I have mounted up the pendulums and bucket links and new lifting arms right down here. And I've moved the actuator mounts down. And also I modified the arms to make clearance for the bucket. And I've also filled the chassis with weights. And this chassis is now ready for electronics. All I have to do is hook them up and we have a working loader. So here's basically what you need to create the electronics. You need 4 ESCs. Now I'm using the 1060 ESCs, and you need a receiver and of course a transmitter. I'm using the FlySky 10 channel. This is a 6 channel receiver. This thing requires only 4 functions, so 6 channels will be sufficient. And you need a battery plug. I'm using these types of battery plugs. And heat shrinks. Very important. If you're going to be soldering, heat shrinks is a must. So the first thing I'm going to do is just hook up these on and off switches onto the side of the ESC. So here you can see that the switch is mounted to the side of the ESC. Now the next step is to remove one of these tabs. As you can see, it says LiPo NIMH. You want to keep this on LiPo, and the other ones you just remove like so. Repeat this step on all ESCs. Alright, so next step. This wire right here is the one that goes into the receiver. The white wire is the signal, the red one is a plus, and the black one is a minus. Now, the red wire powers the receiver. I recommend that you remove the red wire on 3 of these ESCs and leave one with the red wire in. Because that way this receiver will only get power from one single ESC. If you run multiple ESCs with the red wire into the receiver might get fried. So I usually remove the red wire on all ESCs except for one. Here's how I do it. I just use a knife. I pick this one out. Or you can do it the easiest way and just cut the wire. Now I do this because you never know, you might have to use this ESC for something else later on, so you have to isolate the wire because it will have power on it when you plug in the battery. So do this for 2 more ESCs. So here you can see that I removed the red wire on 3 of the ESCs, and this one still has it in. So next step, we are going to join all the battery wires together into one. That way you can power all ESCs through one battery. Now it's important, don't cut all the wires at once. You just want to cut the ones for the battery plug. Now these connectors, they are junk anyway, so I'm going to throw these in the bin. Okay, so the reason I don't cut these wires yet is because I don't want to get confused about which ones are for the battery. So I'm going to de-isolate these wires now. So you might have noticed that I de-isolated them very far down. Now that's intentional because I want them to have a good soldering point. So I just put them all together. You can do a tidy, good-looking job if you want, but I want to be quick about this. I hate soldering. So we join all the red wires into one. I'm gonna use one of my helping hands. Then we got this wire. This is a 16 AWG. As you can see right here. Focus. Yeah, you can barely see it. Okay, so we connect this one. I have another helping hand. Okay, so the red and black wires are now soldered together, and don't worry about the colors of these zip ties. They are just something I had laying around. So we're going to solder up the battery connector now. Just gonna put the heat shrinks on the wires so I don't forget them. And this time we're going to remove just a tiny bit of the isolation on each end, like so. Okay, so next step, I'm going to put zip ties on these so that I can easily see which ones are together and which ones are not together. It will help on the next step. Okay, now I'm going to remove all of these bullet connectors. And I'm going to de-isolate the wires. Not too much. Just a little bit. Now all there is left to do is connect all the functions to the ESCs. Now we have 4 functions as I mentioned earlier. You got one on this track motor, one on this track motor, one of these actuators, and one on the lifting mechanism. So we're going to hook them up to the ESCs now, and I won't be using any connectors. I will solder everything directly to the ESCs. Now if you're going to use connectors, that's fine. Let's begin with the 2 actuators for the bucket. Now as you can see, these come with connectors. As I said, I won't be using them, but I want to use them later on. So I'm going to cut them a little far up the cable. That way I have 2 connectors to use later on. So we're going to de-isolate these now. Like this. And we're going to connect the red ones and the black ones. Okay. Remember heat shrinks. Okay, so that's the bucket actuator. Let's see. So next up we have the lifting motor. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Just cut the wire and solder it directly to the ESC. And that's the lifting motor. Now the next step might be a little harder to film, so basically what I'm going to do is just connect these wires to one of the remaining ESCs, and of course these wires to the other ESC. So all the ESCs are now connected, and yeah, this is another rat's nest. But hey, at least it works. So now I want to keep all the ESCs to one side. As you can see, I gotta figure out a way to make them stay here, because I want the battery to slide in here. And the receiver will probably be somewhere in there or here. Okay, so it's time to connect the receiver and bind it to the transmitter. Now this is a FlySky i6S, and it's a 10-channel transmitter, and this is a 6-channel receiver. Now the track loader only needs 4 channels to function properly. You'll need more channels if you're adding lights and maybe a ripper in the future. We'll see. So before we bind the receiver, we're going to start this FlySky, and you can notice that it has a lock key here. You just press and hold that until you see it unlock like this. You press this button, you press system, and then you go down to screen lock. Press this, press unlock, go back, Now you don't have to deal with that lock anymore. So before we begin, we are going into sticks mode. This is very important. If you're going to follow this guide, this step is very important. Make sure that you choose M3 as your sticks mode, because we are going to need channels 1 and 2 on this stick right here. I'll get back to that later in this guide, but trust me, this is important. So now let's scroll up until we see RX bind. Now let's just let the transmitter sit there, and we are going to hook up this bind plug. This is the bind plug. You get this in the package for the receiver, and on the receiver you can see it says B. We're going to put this plug into the B on top here, and then you find the wire or the connector that has the red wire. You plug it in channel 1 with the black wire facing down. Now this is ready to bind, and this is ready to bind, so let's hook up the battery. And I have a tape on here, but there should be a light here that flashes rapidly, and if it does flash rapidly, it means that it's in bind mode. You can see it in there. Yeah, it's flashing rapidly in there. So this is now ready, and you click RX bind on this transmitter, and it will say bind OK. Perfect. Now it's bound together, and you can remove the bind plug just like that. I didn't mark which ESC is doing what, so we're going to have to figure that out. Remember, channel 1 is this one right here sideways, so we can test this ESC and see what it is. So we already have this ESC connected to channel 1. Let's move the stick. So we have the bucket. Now I believe the bucket should be at channel 4, maybe? Yeah, perfect. We want the bucket to be on channel 4 because that's this stick right here. Now let's plug in another one. This one, just pick one at random, plug it in channel 1, see which one we have. Okay, so this is the right track motor. The right track motor is going to be in channel 2. Yes, perfect. So let's pick another ESC and just plug it in. Channel 1. Okay, so this is the lift motor. We are going to put that in channel 3. It should be this stick right here, up and down. Yes, perfect. So the final ESC, of course, goes to channel 1, which will be the left track motor right here. Yeah, perfect. So now that all the ESCs are sitting in their proper positions, let's check it again. We got the left track motor in channel 1. We got the right track motor in channel 2. We got the lift at channel 3. And we got the bucket at channel 4. So the next step will be to make sure that all channels are working in the correct direction, which means that we probably have to reverse some of the channels in order to make them work the way we want them to. So ideally, when I press down on this stick right here, the lift motor should go up, and it does, so I don't have to change that. And when I press this stick to the right, the bucket should tilt forward, which it doesn't do, so we're going to reverse channel 4. Remember, the bucket is channel 4. So we are going to function, and we are going to click reverse. Find channel 4, click it, it will say reverse. There we go, perfect. Now, let's check if the track motors are going the correct way. So when I press up, the right track motor will respond, and it goes the wrong way. So we are going to have to reverse channel 2. Remember, right track motor is channel 2. Perfect. Now we have to check the left track motor by pushing this stick sideways. When I push it to the right, it should go forward, which it does, which is perfect. Now that we are finished with the reversing, we are going to adjust the endpoints for the lift motor. So the reason for changing the endpoints for the lift is because it's really quick right now. You can see it's almost, yeah, it's too quick, way too quick. So we are going in endpoints, this menu right here on the function tab, you go to endpoints, and we are going to adjust channel 3. Let's turn this one down, the first tab down to 70%. Let's see if this is adjusting up or if it's adjusting down. Okay, so this is adjusting up, which is perfect. I actually think it's too quick down as well, so I'm going to adjust the other tab, this one, and I'm going to put this one at 80. Yeah, perfect. The other channels can stay at 100 for now. We're coming back here to adjust something later on, I think. So let's press out of this menu, go to the main menu again. So now that everything is ready and functioning the way it should, we are going to begin mixing. So I will put the track loader on this 2x4. That way I can see the movement of the tracks without it running all over the place. Actually, I should have it so that you guys could see. Yeah, this will work. Okay, so in order to go to mixing, you press function, you go down until you see mix right here. You see mix number 1 is off. You push on. Now I'm going to try to explain as best I can. So the master means the channel that you are using. The channel that you are touching, that's the master. Slave means the channel that you want the master to mix with. So if I mix channel 1, which is this stick right here, sideways, this is channel 1. Channel 2 will be the slave, and it will also be affected. Yeah, you can see it's being affected, but not as much. That's because channel 2, which is the slave, is set at 50%. You can see it down here. Okay, so what this means, the negative means when I press channel 1 negatively. Okay, so this way is the negative of channel 1, which means that I press this one at, let's say I press it all the way, that's a negative 100, but that affects channel 2 50%. I hope I make this clear, but we are going to put this one at plus 100. That means when I press channel 1 negative 100%, channel 2 will also react 100%. You see? And also when I press this stick the other way, I'm doing the positive. And you can see when I press this one all the way, channel 2 is only reacting 50%. So we want channel 2 to react 100%, the same as channel 1. You see? Now, this is actually the turning mix. So I screwed up here, but I will make it up. We can put this value at negative 100%. That means that we reverse the direction of channel 2. So when I press this one to the right, this one will turn the other way. You see? And then when I press it the other way, they will work opposite. So this means that we now have steering. Now before we go on to mix number 2, I'm going to explain what offset is. You won't be using that, but I will explain it anyway. Okay, so let's say that this stick right here has the values right here, these 3 steps. Now this in the middle is 0, and this one is minus 100, and this one is 100. These are the values. Now, when you press offset, you just move the 0 point either plus or minus, which means if I press offset right here and put it at 50% or something, the motors will begin turning because I move the 0 point. You see? So you won't be using the offset, so don't worry about that. And yeah, the offset only affects the slave, by the way. It doesn't affect the master. At least that's what I think. But anyway, we won't be using offset, so let's move on to channel 2. Let's move on to mix number 2. Press mix, number 2, and you put on. Now, the FlySky transmitter won't allow me to put number 2 into master right now, as you can see. That's because channel 2 is already on slave, so we are going to put channel 1 in slave and channel 2 in master. And as you remember, these 2 values at the bottom need to be either 100% or minus 100%. We are going to put them both at 100%, and let's see if this is correct. You press forward and both motors should go the same way. If they move opposite of each other, you change these values to minus 100. And they move the same way. Perfect. I'm going to show you an example just to make you understand. When I press this and make these minus 100, then this will go forward and this will go backward. You see? Now I'm going to put them in plus 100, plus 100, and they both go the same way. So now we actually have working tracks. We can turn, we can drive forward, backward, turn. Yeah. So now we are finished with mixing. We can go back to the main menu. The next step will be to check if both track motors work at the same speed, because remember, even though the ESCs might be the same brand, they don't always have the same power curve, so they might work a little slower on the way up to 100%. You might have different speeds on one ESC. Also, there's quite a few differences within the motors, so we are going to check if this one runs straight. So I press the stick slowly. Yeah, perfect. This one is actually running straight, which is almost a first. But that's great. That means that I don't have to adjust the endpoints. But let's say that you are encountering, if this is slower than this one, that means that you have to turn down this one, and you cannot turn this up because this one is already 100%, remember? So you have to turn this one down. Now the way you do that, this is channel 2, channel 1, go to endpoints. So in order to make them both run at the same speed, you adjust the values of channel 2. Do this slowly, you can turn it down 90 or 10 at a time, sorry. So you just test them until you find out that they are moving at the same speed. Here you can see it's now slowly turning for me. It's hard to film. Okay, so I'm going to press forward. Yeah, you can see it's slowly turning. So I'm going to put this back because this is perfect. And now we are ready for the final step. And that brings us back to channel 1 and channel 2 in the sticks mode. Now, the motors that I use for the tracks, they are very quick, they are fast. You can almost set world records around the Nürburgring with this. So I want to turn it down, but I don't want to turn it down forever. I want to be able to swap between low and high gear. Now I'm going to show you the max speed of this. Yeah, you can see it. It looks ridiculous right now. So now I want to keep the speed for long distance traveling. For example, I have to drive between one area and another, and there's quite a distance between them. I want to be able to switch into second gear, if you can call it that, or high gear. And the way we do this, we are going down to rate exponential switch. You press this. Now I will be using this switch right here. If I can show you, it says SWD. So we are going to press this one right here and choose SWD. Now we go back, and then you go into rate right here. Now I'm going to flip the switch, and you will see that this says normal. Now it says sport, which means you can choose two different rates based on where the switch sits. So I want to adjust the low gear when this switch is up, which is the normal setting. So we are going to adjust the rate down to, I think, 70% for channel 1. And remember channel 2, because we are running two track motors, we want them to run at the same speed. So we are going to put them at 70, both of them. Now watch what happens when I press the switch. This will fly up to 100. There we go. We now have low and high gear. And I should explain, you can't use channel 3 in the rates because this is a drone controller. Channel 3 is actually throttle control, which is another menu right here, throttle curve. So in the throttle curve menu, you don't have the switch. It doesn't affect throttle curve, which means you can't adjust the rate on channel 3. So that's why we needed to choose channel 1 and 2 on this stick. Obviously you can use other sticks modes if you drive with this side, but I don't do that. So anyway, everything is now ready. Let's test the 2-speed and see if it works. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to have to... Yeah. So this is now max speed, max reverse. Let's flip the switch and go max speed. Yeah, it's much better to control it in the low setting. So this concludes the electronics and the configurations of this track loader. I hope this guide was helpful, and I hope my explanation was good enough so that you understood all the functions of the mixing menu and the low and high gear setting. Remember, if you don't have the rate exponential switch, this menu right here, that means that your controller is out of date, and you can update the firmware on that controller. Just make sure that you choose the correct firmware, or else you will get trouble with the controller. And also, if you have a very old controller, you will only have one mix in the mix menu. That's bad. So you're going to want to upgrade the firmware. Anyway, let's get the rest of the loader assembled so we can finish this project. There we have it. The CAT 973K is now finished. There's a few problems that I need to fix, but other than that, the model is great and the lifting mechanism is working perfect. Now that's the good part about this. The bad part is that there's something wrong with the running gear. The machine bounces around when you drive it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can already see it. It bounces pretty bad, so I need to fix this. I do think that it has something to do with the rollers underneath. I think I should put more rollers. That might fix the problem. Or if that doesn't fix the problem, there's something wrong with the weight distribution on this thing, because all the weight is between these 2 points, which makes it very back heavy, which also can make it bounce around. Anyway, I'm going to redesign this running gear. I'm going to put more rollers in here. And also a guy called Kent in my Facebook group, he pointed out that I should make covers for these motors. And I do agree about that, so I'll look into that. It didn't even cross my mind for some reason. But he's right. Once you start driving this in mud, these are very exposed. So maybe have a cover around here. Okay, anyway guys, I will begin looking into these problems and hopefully I will have them fixed by, a few days. I will post a update video once I'm finished, and hopefully we can figure this out. That's it for this video, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.